A lot of people are going to need to go to therapy for social media. This sort of issue of always wanting more, like more. That's just a kind of circle to completely be unhappy forever. I don't want to do that.
How did the moment feel? Like the money came through.
You're just like, what the fuck? You were set for life. I felt like I won the lottery. I got so lucky. This guy's going to help you not fuck it up.
Tell me about this relationship.
I wasn't interested in anything they had to teach. So I guess my definition of success is...
Welcome to the first ever episode of Up Next, my new podcast where I have, candid conversations with a lot of successful people to find out what they think about career, how they think about life, how they think about success, and to help people that are similar to me find out what they want from life and how to get there. Our first guest is Andrew Gazdecki. He is really, really successful. I think that is safe to say. And throughout his career, he's started, grown, and sold multiple companies, starting with BiznessApps that he started out of his dorm room in college and sold for multiple $1 million 8 years later. Today, he is the founder and CEO of Acquire.com, a marketplace that helps startups get acquired. I'm really, really excited for this conversation. This is Up Next, is Andrew Gazdecki. Good to see you, Andrew. How are you doing?
Doing good, Paul. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, super awesome that you're here. How would you explain what you're currently doing for a living to a 10-year-old?
I run a startup acquisition marketplace that allows startups to buy startups from other startup founders.
That's always a cool question because usually people are very deep in their bubble and have troubles explaining that. What was your dream job as a kid?
I actually wanted to be CEO of a business pretty early. Kind of weird. Most people want to be like professional athletes and stuff, but from an early age, I always liked business and stuff like that.
I'm actually gonna start with a little bit of education. If I would travel back in time right now and ask one of your high school teachers, how do you think would they describe you?
Completely tuned out. I knew pretty early that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so I just kind of looked at, what jobs were, and I just was like, I don't want that. I'd like to have the freedom and the creativity to build stuff on my own. There's a really funny Gary Vee quote where he says something like, he's like, I'm in fifth grade, I knew I was an entrepreneur because I got a D on my astronomy test. He's like, yeah, I don't give a shit about Saturn. So I was kind of the same way. I graduated high school with a 2.2. And that was just because I wasn't interested in anything they had to teach. And then I went to Chico State where I graduated with a 2.07, which I'm pretty sure is the lowest graduating GPA on record because you can't graduate 2.07. So if I had a B- instead of a B in a class, I wouldn't have graduated. So even my college professors would probably say tuned out, except for I was very involved in the entrepreneurship department club, if you will. I'm proud to say I won 4th place, 3rd place, 2nd place, and then finally 1st place with business ideas.
That's awesome. And going actually into your university time, what do you think was your definition of success back then?
I really didn't know. So I can tell you my definition of success when I entered college, I knew I didn't want to get a job. I knew none of the paths of a typical job would get me where I wanted to go. And if I'm being honest, my original goal was just to, accumulate some sort of wealth or just not have to worry about money and be able to support myself on my own. And so I looked at college as, okay, I have 4 years to figure out how to not get a job. So that was my definition of success. So every summer I had this thing where I'd build some new different business or just work on something, tinker on different websites. I made a job board. I made a real estate marketing web design company, and then eventually a company named BiznessApps, which was like a drag and drop mobile app builder, if you want to talk about that, which ended up running for about 8, 9, 10 years, which is like 100 years in startup land. But yeah, I just didn't want to get a job.
That's such a cool reason to go to university, actually, in my opinion. And it's actually it's pretty intentional, right? Like to say, hey, I use this time for that, and not just like do it because. I really like that. And I mean, we can go into business apps, but before that, I would have one question for everyone right now thinking about university, college. What's your advice?
I think probably it's changed a little bit now. So when I went to Chico, I think, and I got like financial aid and all that stuff. So I had loans I had to pay. But when I was a freshman, and then when I graduated, I ended up going 5 years, which is kind of funny. And just a footnote there, I went a fifth year to work on business apps, and I picked up a minor in entrepreneurship and failed so I got an F in that. So I don't have a minor in entrepreneurship, but I just did it so I can get the financial aid. So I had, just everything paid for, and I just had this free time to focus on the business. So on one hand, it's great because you have so much time and resources and zero responsibility to focus on building a business if that's your goal. And I think most of what I learned was out of the classroom, almost, if not everything. I met a lot of great teachers, great connections. BiznessApps had two small angel investors. We raised 100,000, and then we bootstrapped the rest of the business. I met those two investors in Chico. So shout out to Robert Jazarino and Christian Breland. And then also Peter Strauss, who is the head of the entrepreneurship department. He kind of took me under his wing, if you will. So I had a great college experience, but towards the end, college tuition skyrocketed. It went from, I think it was like 5K a year, and then it went to like 25K. I think it's probably like 50K now. So, I think everyone should go to college, but I say that in, kind of like a double vein of, it's just so expensive now. I might have not gone to college at all today if I had the choice, just because, but knowing the outcome, I would. But I'm just trying to think, if I had to step back, not knowing where my future would be, and I'm just getting a degree. So I'm just going to put my answer as, you should go to college. It has benefits, but man, has it changed. And it's definitely harder to get into. So Chico State, you can't even get into without a 4.0. So I would have never even got in. So yeah, that's kind of crazy. And then just if your parents can't pay for it, it's just such a huge expense. So, you got to weigh the benefits. Like, do you really need that degree? There's pros and cons. I don't have a strong opinion on it. I'm not like, I know some people are like, don't go to college, it's bad for you. But there's also so many benefits to college. I met all my friends, met my wife there. That's a great question. I'm like 50-50 on that one.
Yeah, what I always, I mean, even for myself, right? I'm 18 and I'm not at college. I think it's about doing it for a reason. Like, there's good reasons to do it, right? But it's like, you shouldn't just do it because everyone does it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And I mean, business apps, you touched upon that. You started that like straight out of college and like from your college dorm room. And I mean, it's you said that, but it was a platform for like small businesses to, or is, I think it still exists, right?
Yeah.
To create an app and engage their customers that way. And before we go into like the specifics of building this company, I want to talk about mentorship. You already like mentioned the angel investors. I heard you say like in one podcast you talked about, I think Christian, and he said he changed my life. Um,
Absolutely 100%.
yeah, tell me about like this relationship and like mentorship in general.
Yeah, so Christian Friedland, he was the founder of a company called build.com. I have a pretty funny podcast with him on the Microquire YouTube channel. He's just a brilliant individual, and he started that business with no capital, and he grew it to, I think, like 3 or 4, 5 billion dollars in GMV, and it's e-commerce store. It competes with Home Depot and Lowe's online. So home repair stuff, think like sinks, toilets, stuff, cabinets. I don't know. Big company though, like big, huge office, thousands of employees. And he sold the company and stayed on as CEO and only made a few angel investments. So he wasn't a typical angel investor that would make a lot of angel investments. And so when he invested in me, he just had so much time and just availability. And I assume he just, kind of, he had already sold his business. He was already kind of set for life. And, I just, I still talk to him all the time and tell him like, dude, you changed my life. Like, thank you. But I would write him like really long emails. He was almost like a co-founder of the company. And I think it's really, really, really rare and also something not to be expected to find that level of mentorship. So I feel pretty grateful that I was able to accumulate so much knowledge. He invested, I think, like 60K or something like that. And if you just think of what they were paying him as a salary to work at build.com, which I think was in the millions, to stay on after the acquisition, just his time alone that he invested in me was in the millions. And so I'm just forever grateful for everything that he did for me. He like truly cared for me as an individual. And again, I was young. I was like 21, 22. And he really helped instill in me this, because we started growing really fast. And so when you start growing and we were in all the publications, we were, in TechCrunch like 20 times when they used to write about bootstrap businesses, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, like you need, it was just kind of a cliche story, like college kid making mobile apps when no one knew how to make mobile apps.
The
So it
internet
was
guy.
also, yeah, it had a good story to it, and it had a David versus Goliath, like we're helping small businesses. So it was very press worthy, if you will. And so when you get that much attention, VCs, investors reach out. And Christian would always tell me, like, hey, like, if you take on this type of money, like, you realize, like, what you have right now is a win. Like, and I always explain it like this: when you're bootstrapping a business, you're at, let's say, like the blackjack table and you have a bunch of chips and you can cash them in, like, you can sell the business and, you've won. But when you raise venture capital, you kind of, you commit to this goal of getting a lot more chips before you can sell. And so that's why we never raised any venture capital. We met with every VC firm you could possibly name. And we got close one time, and I remember emailing the partner just saying, I'm just too young and I don't know what I'd spend this on. I just don't feel comfortable. And Christian like helped, and it's in his benefit to be like, take the money, like grow faster. But he's like, you gotta bird in the hand. Don't go for two in the bush right now. Like, do that next time. Sell this business and do the VC thing next time. But like you build something special here without a lot of capital. Like that's very rare. So that's where I say he, quite literally changed my life.
I found an interview from you from 2011, when you were like 22, and you were asked like it was right at the beginning or early days of business apps, and you were asked about like a typical day. I'm gonna read you a quote now, that what your answer from back then.
Is
Um,
it the Idea Mensch interview?
yeah, I think so.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, that was the funniest interview I've ever done.
yeah, that was really fun to read, and like during research, I was very proud of myself that I found that. um,
Yeah.
So yeah, you said business apps all day, 12-hour days in the office, living off coffee, and loving every minute of it. Putting a heavy emphasis on crushing every aspect of the business. I just enjoy what I do. My friends literally want to kill me because I can't talk about anything but my business anymore. I can't help it. I love it. Anything that you're passionate about, you're going to make happen. Let's let's reflect on this answer. Did you feel like you were living the dream back then already?
Oh yeah, I felt like I won the lottery. I got so lucky. I mean, yeah, I'm not technical. I had no sales experience. I didn't have a lot of capital. I had no marketing experience. I had no job experience. I just got fired from a graphic design job at school. Um, and it was a moment, and there's certain times where, you know, when you launch a business, market timing can be the most important factor. And so what I noticed in the market was, there was these app builders coming out, but none of them were specific to small businesses. And I had a job board previous to that that connected mobile developers with businesses. And I kept seeing this repeated job posted over and over and over. And I said, that should be a template because people are making or paying 50K to have simple apps for typically high end restaurants and hotels made. And so, um, yeah, I would say, um, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting to reflect back and just think of all the mistakes that we made, um, and how we still made it. And it really was just through, we just wanted it that bad. We worked really hard. We kind of made up for our lack of experience with, working, somewhat outrageous hours, which at this age I can't do, but I'm really glad I did that when I was younger.
Yeah, that's. I think there's always this. I would be actually super curious, like how much of that answer was like narrative, and how much like looking back and like being. I would imagine like being part of this like whole thing is like you said you felt like you won the lottery. Um, how much is that like? How different would the answer be right now?
Well, imagine this. So you're growing up as a kid, and your childhood dream is to be the quarterback of, I don't know, the San Francisco 49ers. One day you reach that goal. And so at age 22, I was the CEO of a company that was growing really fast, faster than I had ever expected. And it was just kind of one of those moments of like, wow, like just kind of first shot. And then that's where I like to put emphasis just on the luck of just what happened. And I completely understand, like, it probably could have been a bigger company. It probably could have been maximized more if I was more experienced. But yeah, I mean, it was an exhilarating experience of just the rush of just like finding product market fit that fast, like seeing revenue go into the millions when you're like 22 or 23, and you don't have, a lot of investors breathing down your throat or anything like that. It was probably, I always like to say we didn't build the biggest company, but I would put money on saying we built the funnest company.
In that same interview, you named Rex Shahal.
Gurbash Shahal, yeah,
Yeah,
he built and sold like three different companies. He's had a few scandals though since I posted that.
yeah.
So I would probably redact that one. But
the the thing why I'm telling you that is Like the thing you said that was inspiring about him was like actually building the companies, like building a 40 million company, then a 300 million company. How much was that part of the motivation besides everything, like the money part, the like financial, you talked about that financial freedom, and stuff.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for him because he just has a track record. I always say if you do it once, you're lucky. If you do it twice, you're talented. If you do it three times, like you're on another level. Like you just know how to build businesses. And it takes a lot out of you. I think that's why you see a lot of entrepreneurs, they'll just kind of build one because it literally 10 years in startups is like dog years. It's like 100 years of your life. But for those crazy enough to do a second one and then it's successful and then another one and it's successful, that's really rare. And so I thought that was just really cool how he uh, kept building these companies and they were kind of bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think another entrepreneur I'd probably replace with him would be Parker Conrad from Zenefits. He, had a huge fallout with Zenefits, but then he came back with the vengeance from Rippling. And I love those stories where you lose everything. You had it all, you lose it all. I mean, I hope that doesn't happen to anybody, but
It
just
makes a
such
good story.
an amazing story. If you lose it all, everyone doubts you, and then you pick yourself right back up. And I think that's what entrepreneurship is all about, is where you're gonna fall down. And I mean, Parker Conrad's story is a big story of falling down. Like all press publications are saying the meanest things possible. And he comes back with Rippling, which is, one of the fastest growing companies to my knowledge. I think I love those types of stories. Just repeat founders, just coming back with something to prove, or just for the love of building, ideally.
You didn't fall down though. So you sold BiznessApps in 2018, I believe. Um,
Yep.
and and I mean there's a lot of stuff like out there. I mean, it's safe to say it. Like you didn't have financial ones after that, but what I'm curious about, like, how did the moment feel? Like the money came through on your bank account.
I've actually talked about this on one podcast, but like I was the opposite of probably what you thought. Like so I did have that typical moment of refresh your bank account, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like what? And my first reaction was I got really nervous. I like didn't sleep that night. I was like, I always described it as, and I really had this thought. I was like, is this illegal? Like this can't be
Uh,
true. And then, it sinks in, and then that's when I kind of started to celebrate. But at first, I mean, the way most people accumulate, wealth throughout like a career with a job is like very steady and slow. So it's kind of like one, and then for an entrepreneur, it's just like straight line and boop, just it's just so much all at once. It's hard to kind of describe. It's like try like just thinking about like it's like the feeling of your first customer, product market fit, and the whole journey just kind of ending on like the best possible note all at once. So it's like emotional, scary, but I will never forget that moment. That was a fun time.
was there like you after you let it sink? Was there anything you like bought for your family, for yourself, like something like a stupid, just like I can't afford it now, I'll just do it, purchase?
No. So again, this is where Christian Friedland came in. He made a good amount of money off the business being acquired, and so he was happy. But again, like he connected me with a financial advisor, and he's like, "Hey, listen, this guy's not going to help you 10x your money, but he's going to help you not fuck it up." Basically, that was his words, like literally do it. And we always talked about a rule where, when I sold the business, uh, to not spend anything for a year. And so I waited a year until I actually, maybe it was a little less than a year, but bought a house, bought a car. That was it. I'm a pretty simple guy. This sweater's from Target. I mean, there's nothing I really want. And then I think you can probably like connect the dots. I just keep building businesses. So that's what I like to do.
I actually think that's a super interesting point. Like what motivates you? Because I think for a lot of people, money is a big part of the motivation.
Yeah, the thing, and this is another quote from Christian Friedland too, is once entrepreneurs like get some sort of financial freedom, you can transcend money as motivation. And Will Schroeder from startups.com really kind of put this into perspective. Because I asked him, I was like, why did I work so hard for that first business? And he's like, well, that was like purpose for you. Like you wanted a better life for you and your family. So that was, very understandably like why you worked on that business so hard. Because when you look back, sometimes you're like, why did I work 12-hour days? Why did I, go through that much like, pain, if you will? And now what motivates me today is just helping people, which is kind of ironic. Like even if micro acquires a huge success and I get a big financial windfall, whatever, I'm just gonna build another company. Like I don't like, the thought of managing multiple homes or even multiple cars. Like I have to get new tires on my car and I have to get an oil change right now. Like I don't want to do that. So that stuff just doesn't interest me. So I think that's where I think a lot of entrepreneurs get things wrong in terms of what they really want out of a startup. And what I mean by that is I don't think entrepreneurs understand how impactful 2, 1, 5, 10, $20 million can do. Like if you have $20 million, you are set for life. Like you have your retirement fund, you have your house paid in cash, you have like everything. But every entrepreneur is shooting for like the $1 billion outcomes. Like what are you gonna do with $1 billion? What are you gonna do with $100 million? Like you're
Buying
just gonna
Twitter, like not with 100 million, but
it, I think Twitter is a little more than that, but
yeah.
like you're just gonna die with the money. I do hope a billionaire goes crazy one time and just starts like I want a pyramid built in the middle of nowhere or something like that. I'll be if I ever become a billionaire, I pledge to become that guy. I was like, I want a pyramid built with a roller coaster around it. Like, and this is where you're gonna bury me or something. Just like it's such an absorbent amount of money. Like
Yeah.
you just put it in the stock market and then like you get to watch it the number go up more. Like what? I don't get it. So that's why I'm always trying to tell entrepreneurs, listen, you know, when you raise venture capital, you have a 1% chance of reaching, a $1 billion valuation, but that it doesn't stop there. Now you have to either go public or you have to find a buyer for your business. When you have a business worth $1 billion, the amount of businesses that can acquire that are very small. Your buyer pool, ironically, gets smaller as your business gets bigger. So if you focus on building a business to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, $10 million, you have a pretty good sized buyer pool. And that is a more practical and realistic approach to entrepreneurship, in my opinion. And I think we've just been fed this Silicon Valley narrative of raise a series A through Z. And when you sell, you'll have 3% of $1 billion company. It's like you can avoid all that and just, bootstrap a business. It's definitely, both paths have, because Mike requires venture back. So I can speak to both paths are kind of equally hard, but your chances of having a financial success, maybe it won't be a billion, but it'll definitely be life changing. It's far more practical if you don't raise a lot of outside capital.
everyone that has ever given me like money advice has said something along the lines of equity versus investing or whatever. It's just like if you own something and sell it, that's where money comes from. It's such a big thing. Thank you for sharing that. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about actually Twitter for a second.
Uh,
Like how much time do you spend on Twitter every day?
so I used to write a lot in terms of journaling or writing for publications like Forbes, Entrepreneur. And so instead of doing that, I just like to write. And I always have. So in the morning, I'll usually kind of think of a tweet or something like that. And I just think it's fun. And that goes back to kind of what motivates me, which is just helping people. If I can help people, like, I love the responses of like, oh, I need to hear that, or just like, thanks for the tip. Sometimes you'll get like, worst tweet ever. And it's like, I'll just like it anyways. Like, I respect your opinion. I'm not always right. But I would say typically like no more than like 2, 3 hours a day.
Are you actually writing everything yourself?
Yeah. Yeah,
Interesting.
I've never some people have called me out and they're like Andrew's not real, he's a bot or something like that, or he has a ghostwriter. And
Because
I
you
always
always like and like engage and do this stuff.
yeah, the reason I do that is because I'm just trying to say well, for two reasons. One is the comments is kind of where I get ideas for just other tweets. So I read them, and also it's kind of my way of saying like, hey, thanks for just engaging. And also just like, I respect your opinion. Even if you're like, worst tweet ever, I'll still like it. So it's really me. And you could test me. You can be like, ask me a hard question. Like, uh, I don't know. My lucky number is 11. If you just ask me that, like, Andrew, what's your lucky number? Like, I'll say 11. It's always me. It's always been me. But sometimes Drake does come in and ghost writes a couple tweets here and there.
It's a great way for Drake to like make a little bit money off on the side, probably.
He does it pro bono.
Yeah. Oh, okay,
That's
okay.
that's a joke for people. Joke, not serious.
Do you have like an advice for like starting out on Twitter or another like social media platform for young people? Is it even worth it if you're just like at the beginning of your career?
Yes, I would say so. I think the main thing, and I think a lot of people are going to need to go to therapy for social media. Like, I won't say names, but like the people who just rile people up and just say these just like polarizing opinions just to get attention, they're going to be in therapy for social media, because you get addicted to those little dings. So I try to do a couple things. Number one, I don't really care what people think about my tweets. Again, I respect everyone's opinion. But what I'm trying to say here is you need to find a way to make it fun. And for me, that's just posting, stuff that helps entrepreneurs, motivates them, teaches something. I'm sharing a story, I'm marketing, micro acquire, rooting for other entrepreneurs to succeed. That's fun to me. What's not fun is writing something and then it becomes into like a Q&A. I don't have time for that. Like, I write a topic that has nothing to do with microacquire and someone's like, hey, what about microacquire? Sometimes like I'll just like that and I'll just reply later. But what I'm getting across is find something that you enjoy on social media, because then you'll show up every day, because it's all about just consistency. And then if you're not going to enjoy it, you're going to suck at it. I'm a big believer that the best work that you do is work that you love. And I just happen to like writing little snappy, sometimes good, mostly bad startup tweets. I enjoy it. So I think if you think of it as like a game that you enjoy, but if you get into this sort of like, I got to build a personal brand, I'm going to, write these huge threads. Like, a shout out to people who write threads. I have no idea how you have time for that. But um, again, just figuring out, I mean, maybe threads is your thing and you want to, really educate people. Like find out what you enjoy and then that's how you make it work. And then just do that for like a couple years. And
That's
that
a
also applies to startups too.
that's a like universal advice. I actually wrote a lot of threads in my early days on Twitter, but yeah, as soon as you're not like senior year in high school, like having nothing to do and just like spending your whole day on Twitter, I started like noticing, oh, that's not very like feasible and sustainable.
Yeah, I've written a few threads, but I didn't enjoy them because I like just kind of the more snappy, just, and one thing you'll notice is most of my tweets, they just come from my phone. So I think the best tweets usually come from, um, they're usually kind of reminders to myself or just things that I'm thinking of. And that's kind of maybe an idea for people of just like, be yourself, like be authentic. And so, I don't have like scheduling times or anything like that. It's just, what am I thinking about today? I don't know. And then I just kind of post it. And I don't really care what people think or say about it. Um, but I enjoy and respect, people's comments, opinions, and it makes it fun, you know?
Yeah. And one thing that you do tweet at least from time to time about is microacquire. Actually have I don't know if you even see microacquire there, but it is there.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
I'm using it's on my wall of fame for swag.
I appreciate that.
I'm actually really loving the like cap and the swag, and it's a very like you can make a lot of jokes that like I posted this one time where I like was in the supermarket and said I'm micro acquiring some
I
groceries.
saw that and I laughed. I
Yeah, and I
like that.
think I love that, and it's even better that like literally no one else other than like people I know on the internet like understands that. So yeah, that's really cool, and it is a venture backed business. So you I think raised 7 million, something like that.
Like 12 or
Oh,
13.
I mean, there's like lots of traction. You're going to like drop the micro, uh,
Yeah.
which is super cool. I'm actually um, with a good friend of mine looking into acquiring something, and it's like there's a lot of big stuff there, right? Um, and I mean, what are your personal goals with microacquire beyond just helping people like experience what you experience with business apps?
I would say it was just you nailed it. My experience with business apps, like going through finding a buyer was so hard. Like it took me like literally years to find a buyer. And then there's no education on how to sell your business. There's a lot more now, but 4 years ago, due diligence, legal steps, you just had to go through an investment bank or something like that to sell your business. And then after I had sold Allcoin, my second company, I was actually looking to buy a SaaS company because I didn't want to go through the part where you eat glass for 2 years, find product market fit, and you're doing everything. But then I started Microacquire for some reason. And it originally was just for personal deal flow. And then I just saw it was so needed in the market because there was nothing specific to SaaS. And then I found out brokers took 15% commission. Investment banks typically take, 2 to 3%. So I was like, okay, we got a big market here. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are going to be bootstrapping businesses, and there's going to be a lot of businesses, specifically SaaS software companies, getting acquired for under, say, $50 million. Not the $1 billion outcomes; those are still going to be there, but I think the long tail of just people building software has been democratized with no code tools, just all the information. Like a decade ago, when I was building business apps, we were all winging it. There was no book to read on sales strat. There were, but there wasn't like a standard. There wasn't. I couldn't post something on Twitter like, "Hey, I need help with this." Like our billing stack, like, oh my gosh, like there was no Stripe, there was no we were on physical servers for a little bit, if you remember that. So my point being is it's so much easier to create a startup, and there's just so many niche opportunities. And I think we're going to see that continue and continue and continue. And so, um, with MicroAcquire, the thought was, man, I wish I had a platform like this to help me sell business apps when I was looking to sell it. Because when I sold the business, I was in it long enough where I was ready to step aside. I was actually looking at hiring a CEO for the business, but we sold the business instead because I wanted to try something new. I wanted to work on something new. And it was in such great shape. I just, was I delegated almost everything. And so I was kind of just there for the big decisions. And yeah, I think, big plans for acquire.com is, I want to help facilitate not just, the micro acquisitions, but, the macro acquisitions too. I think, I don't think any entrepreneur really wants a micro acquisition. I don't think any entrepreneur wants to feel like, oh, I sold my business for a micro price. I want to help founders maximize their exits. And I think with the rebrand acquire.com, it's a good way to really help entrepreneurs, think bigger. Like, yo, let's go for, seven figures. Like, you can do it if you just push a little bit harder. We'll still support, deal sizes of any range, but I can see acquire.com being just the default marketplace if you're looking to sell a business for 10,000 or 100 million. So that's essentially our goal.
Yeah. That's like the perfect story, right? Like of like it's such a clear pitch of that, like that's what we were fighting or who we were fighting against, and like this is the like perfect solution to replace that with. So I love that. If you I love to ask this question, by the way. In let's say in a few years, what no one expects, and acquire.com fails, how would you like explain this decision to do that, like to a stranger in a bar? Why wouldn't you regret it?
I mean, it has I know my chances since we're venture backed, I'm in that 1% bucket. So, my odds aren't very good, just, even as we're doing well. But that's just the reality of startups is you got to go through it, you got to go after it. So let's say it does fail and, it doesn't work out. I would have no regrets, because we've definitely helped a lot of entrepreneurs. And again, that's what motivates me. So that's kind of like the ironic thing. Even if MicroAcquire does fail, and I think if we define failure as, we weren't able to commercialize the business and make it bigger, we still have helped so many entrepreneurs. At least I hope we have. And we've helped them sell their business. And I think we've helped a lot of people rethink, what, life-changing money really is. It's not the $1 billion outcome. It's more just, sell your business for just a couple million. It's so much more realistic, so much more feasible. And your buyer pool is in like the thousands. Like, so I think even if it fails, I have accomplished my goal in terms of just inspiring entrepreneurs and helping entrepreneurs. But yeah, I mean, if it goes down like in flames, it suck. I can't get around that. But if I had to explain to someone, I'd have to probably do a retrospect on, what decisions did we get wrong? There'd probably be, I definitely would do a post-mortem in terms of, what, just to help people. But, I'm giving it all I got. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I also obviously hope that it's not going to get to this point. How much, like, since the early days of BiznessApps, and we looked at this quote, like where you described your typical day, how different is a typical day in your life right now to that?
I recently tweeted about this. So I have a lot of boundaries that I set now is because when you're, 22, 23, 25, whatever, you don't have a lot of responsibility. But I'm married, I have a 3-year-old. I have, a life outside of work. And so, those are also relationships like you want to really nurture, because if I succeed with my require, I want to share it with my friends and my family and then all my teammates. So I've really tried to correct a lot of the mistakes I made at BiznessApps. The biggest one was not delegating early enough, not hiring a team of people way smarter than me earlier enough. Also understanding that working harder does not translate to, or working more hours doesn't necessarily translate to more growth on the business. So I'm more thoughtful with my time, and I try to guard my calendar pretty hard. And so a typical day, I'll work. It depends on the week, but I usually will work between at least 40 hours. Some weeks over 100 hours. Just depends on if we're recruiting, if there's a product launch coming out. If it's kind of one of those end of the month, if you will. But I make, like, right after we get done recording this podcast, I'm going to lunch with my wife. I make time for my son every day. Weekends, family, friends. But just having that stuff, when I was building BiznessApps, I was so heads down, almost like obsessive, that it was borderline unhealthy when I think about it. I don't recommend that, because you need a good balance, and you do better work when you can come back and you're like, oh, that one problem, I have an idea for it now. Or just, I don't necessarily sweat, you know, issues or problems or challenges as much as I used to. Because I've just learned over the years that does no good. Like, you can worry and stress about there, like when you have a problem in a business, whether that's finding product market fit, you lost customers, someone quit, whatever. You have two paths. Like, one is you can complain and whine about it and, like, just basically do nothing. And that has zero value. Or you can look at every problem as an opportunity to improve and get better. And so just that simple sort of, I'm a big believer, startups are half mental. It's like a half mental game. Um, so that's probably a big switch in terms of how I work and how much I work. So when I do work a lot, it's usually just, we got a lot going on because the team is still small, but it's definitely not on the level of, hardcore hustle like BiznessApps was, if you will.
For me personally, like super early stage, and I don't have this experience you have, so it's like kind of very limited data set, but is the coolest like part of a startup and like smaller team, everyone. Is that for you the case as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, well, every stage is kind of fun because, you move from, I'd go even smaller is probably the funnest, because that's when, like, you don't know if it's going to work at all. Like, and then you get through that breakthrough and you're able to, hire a few more people. But yeah, when you can all fit on one Zoom screen, you still have time to kind of joke around in a 30-minute stand up. Everybody knows each other on a personal level and a professional level, and everybody is able to, have fun and just enjoy their work and know everybody in the company. It becomes really hard when, the company's so big, people just don't even know each other. And yeah, it's just every person that you add to your company is just another layer of communication. And so I'm a big advocate of keeping your team as small as possible for as long as possible, because a small team can ironically move way faster than a big bloated team, because then you got to have meetings about meetings and then strategy talks, and it just becomes, instead of just actually getting stuff done, in my experience, you get the most stuff done when you're small, and then after that you just have so many customers to support that you have to have processes to sustain all of that. And that's the same with product. You have such a vast feature set. You need so many engineers to support it. And you do see a little bit of uh, slowness in terms of the delivery of everything. Not always the case, but yeah, when you can all fit on one Zoom screen, you have to tile over a bunch. Those are the good days.
When you're hiring right now, especially, I don't know, it's how much you actually do that, but like junior-ish people, like younger folks, what are you looking for? What would also be your advice for like someone my age, um, in terms of like getting hired or career?
I would say so. If you're looking to get hired, anything to stand out. I mean, anything to like if you can, do something interesting in terms of like one person I hired, we started the interview and they had a microcross shirt on. Like that's awesome, because I like to hire people. I have a really simple criteria when I hire. It's just, um, do I think I'd enjoy working with you? Do I think you'd enjoy working at this company? And do I think you'd do a good job? That's kind of it. There's a lot of layers to that onion. So what I look for is just motivation, attitude, and skill set in that order because I can't teach the other two. And if you don't have a positive attitude and you're not motivated to work at microacquires, so to speak, it's just not going to work out. I don't want, I don't, I don't, I don't look to hire people that just want a job. I want people on my team that want to be on my team because they like what we're doing. They're passionate about helping other entrepreneurs. And I think that's when you get the most out of a team is when everyone's rowing in the same direction and there's purpose to the work. And it sounds cheesy as hell, but when you all just have this shared, sort of view of like what you can accomplish together, that's where you get the high fives and like everyone contributing and everyone, giving just like really good ideas and feedback and, putting in the extra 10% and, there's a saying, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And so, I think a lot of people make the mistake of hire smart people and then just leave them alone like that. I think I don't know whose quote that is, but I couldn't disagree with that more. I think you want to hire people that are motivated and that are, team players that make each other better. And what happens is you create this organization of just pure learning where everyone is just helping each other out and learning and just, it's a team, like a basketball team. Everybody's passing the ball. It's not like you just, pick up LeBron James and you just say, hey, do your thing. LeBron James needs like a supporting cast and stuff like that. Probably a bad analogy, but, there's a book called The Advantage that goes over basically, let's call them A players. A group of unaligned A players were basically they had some project to complete and they had junior, less experienced people, 5 of them, and they were highly motivated and the A players were not as motivated and the B players outperformed them by like a magnitude of like 3 to 4. I need to reread that book for the specific details, but my point being is if you have one bad apple just in a group of 5, it just ruins everything. So again, that's why I always look for motivation, attitude, and skill set.
I would say you're pretty successful, but what does for do you agree, and what does that mean?
I think success is defined by you. I mean, I think people look up to people with a lot of money as successful, but I think the most successful people are the people that are just the happiest because there's things that you can't buy, and that's really where you win in life. I think that the person who's running a one person business because he doesn't like to manage people is able to just pay his bills and he's laughing with his team every day and doesn't have any stress. That person is richer, in my opinion, than any billionaire. because they've kind of checkmated life. Like I recently just got back from Hawaii, and I always kind of joke with my wife when we go out there. We're at some restaurant and the waiter comes, and I'm always like, do they have it figured out or do we? Because we pay a lot of money to come here, and they're just living in paradise, and they have the lowest stress job, and this place is beautiful. And I think about that often. So I think success is definitely defined by you, and for me it's just being happy. That's one of the core components, because when you like think of it this way, like people going after like $1 billion outcomes, what's really going to happen is maybe you'll get a bigger house. That's cool, and you probably won't use 90% of it. Maybe your car will be fast. Okay, that's cool, but like you don't need it. But it's really, the people that, are doing things on their terms, with, spending time how they want to spend it, and are able to, just basically live happy lives. And that's what makes you live longer. That's what, everyone really strives for. And I think a lot of people kind of get trapped in this sort of issue of always wanting more, if you will, always wanting more, like more. And that's just a kind of circle to just kind of completely be unhappy forever. So I guess my definition of success is just being able to do what you want to do every day. And for me, that's just building companies. I love building companies. I love the bad parts. I love the good parts. I love everything in between. And I'm just super grateful I'm able to do that. And I'd like to think I'm okay at it. But not the best, but I don't know, good enough to get on your podcast.
Oh,
So,
that's for sure. Was there like one or two key decisions in your life looking back now that like where you went like left when everyone else went right, that like very much influenced, or like made your, I don't know, success or help you get where you are?
yeah, I would say college, from day one being like, I don't want a job, and focusing 4 years on, because everyone, they're trying to build a startup, but what they don't see behind, startup founders that they may think are successful is just a ton of work that has gone into accumulating these skills. So I had to learn, sales. I had to learn, marketing. So when I say I don't have sales, like formal sales experience, marketing experience, I was just learning on my own because I really wanted to learn the game of building a business. So I think that's one of them. And then I would say probably the second one, I would say, this is going to sound, probably marrying my wife. Met her in college. And actually, she was the first one I told about BiznessApps as an idea. And so she's kind of like my secret co-founder to like everything I do. She's like chief of staff, essentially. She also owns a recruiting company. So she's got some entrepreneurial spirit in her as well. But those are probably the two best decisions I ever made.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. Is there anything you wanna like plug? Where should people go check out what you do?
Sure, yeah. If you want to connect with me on Twitter, just Gazdecki, if you can spell that correctly, good for you. And then just maybe check out acquire.com.
Awesome. Andrew, thank you so much for taking this time. I really do appreciate it. It was like I learned a million things, and I'm super glad you took the time.
Yeah, my pleasure, Paul.
And that's a wrap for this week's episode of Up Next. If you want to unlock more secrets to success, then make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode again. And if you enjoy the show, I'd be super grateful if you could take a moment to leave me a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Your feedback helps me to continue bringing you the best content and guests. Remember, You have the power to shape your own future. You are up next. Till next Wednesday, I'm Paul, signing off. Bye-bye.